Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode Locker Room Talk Uncut. Drew Garrison, Chad Penrod in the locker room, bringing you the latest in sports. We are in a new and improved locker room, man. We got some comfy chairs in here. We got all kinds of stuff going. So today, we are going to recap the Super Bowl, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting the win over the Chiefs. Their parade was today, too.
Dude, did you see Tom Brady?
Dude, he was wasted. He was lit.
We'll hop into that first, but let's be honest, man. The real reason people are going to be tuning into this is because you're going to have some big news later on in the show.
I am, and I'll get into everything that I've been hyping up on Twitter here the last week or so. It's kind of gotten out of control. I'll get into that. We'll talk about what I know about Joe Thuney and the chances he becomes a Cincinnati Bengal. But yeah, man, let's talk Super Bowl. We're lounging back in these new chairs. We're comfortable. Let's just talk about the game, man.
It's comfortable in here now, ain't it?
It was, dude. First off, shout out to you for the food at your house for the Super Bowl. That shit was delicious.
Did you expect that though, man?
I didn't. Now, see, I was in here last week. I said I had Bucks 34, Chiefs 31. I thought it was going to be a back and forth close battle, but that was an ass whooping.
I had Chiefs 40, fucking Bucks 30, so I was way off.
You were off from the coin toss, though. Right?
We got to bring that up. If anybody does prop bets, don't do them ever again.
So we're sitting there watching the game, and coin toss is about to start. Chad looks at his wife and says, "Babe, we need tails." She's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Nothing. We just need tails." She's like, "Why? What'd you do?" He's like, "Just root for tails." And then it was fucking heads. Yeah. The prop bets got you.
Hey, I got the one, though. I took the bet. It was Pat Mahomes, 18.5 rushing yards, and he smashed that in the
second drive.
Yeah. I wish I would have had Pat Mahomes fucking how many yards he would running for his life.
Yeah, you'd have took the over on that one easy.
What was that, like 500 yards? What was that stat?
He ran before either getting sacked or throwing the ball away for 497 yards, I believe.
It's incredible.
It's either 497 or 457, but either way.
So let's talk about the game. We were in here last week, and I said that if Pat Mahomes does not win this game, that he can never be compared to the GOAT himself, that being Tom Brady.
You did. You got deep.
And I did. I thought about that, and I was like, you know what, this needs said. And I still feel that way. And I had somebody ask me, like, so you don't think Pat can ever catch Brady now? And honestly, what Pat Mahomes needs now to even be considered is to hope that him and Brady can meet up in the Super Bowl, because Tom Brady's not done.
Hoping for the rematch?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way, right? I mean, if you can meet up with them somehow again in the Super Bowl. But I think the conversation is over. I mean, we can't talk about the Montanas. We definitely can't talk about Pat Mahomes. I mean, because he lost to him head-to-head. The only other person close to him is Montana. So I think that the conversation is completely over.
Yeah,
Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. I don't think it can even be argued. And what a performance, dude. I mean, he lit the Chiefs up. We all said that we thought maybe the Chiefs' defense was a little underrated. And Tom Brady was like, well, wait a minute. I'm gonna show you exactly how vulnerable they are and where their weak spots are. And then the Honey Badger, who I gloated about for the Browns game because he was just great, dude, don't talk shit to Tom Brady and get him that fired up. Come on, dude.
Yeah, Come on. And Brady said after something happened, he said, "I'm coming at you all day."
He said, "I'm coming at you all game," and
he did, dude. He that touchdown to AB, and he went at the Honey Badger.
Yeah, he did. Don't talk shit to the GOAT, man. That, like I said, the conversation's over. I mean, we don't have to talk about it anymore. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever live. In my opinion, he's the greatest athlete in any sport ever. He's better than Michael. He's definitely better than LeBron. Like he is the greatest to ever play a sport, in my opinion. And I kind of want to go back to Mahomes here for a minute, though, man. The numbers weren't great, and we're big on the eye test. And just watching a game, I'm not going to fault Pat Mahomes too much. I mean, he did have some bad throws. It was definitely his worst game. It's the first time he's ever lost by double digits. He was running for his fucking life, dude.
Yeah, I that's what I was saying. Like, he got dragged, on Twitter and stuff like that. But as a Bengals fan who watched Joe Burrow for the first 7 games I think he had of his career, I can't. How do I fault Pat Mahomes when he's running for his life? He fucking threw a ball. I don't know how far it was, but regardless of how far it was, he was falling like horizontal. His body was like parallel with the turf, dude. And he sidearms this fucking thing. It was over 40 yards, I think.
Well, he had 2 touchdown passes dropped too.
But that ball, as he's literally inches above the turf, completely sideways, he just flicks it. It hits the receiver in the face in the end zone.
Yeah. Well, and
how the fuck?
We were talking before the game too, and I was telling you that, watching the Browns game too, all 5 linemen didn't play together all that much this year, as good as that offensive line was. And I said, you can make up for one of your linemen missing, but when you're missing 2, for some reason, it just destroys your line.
Especially if they're right together.
Yeah, so when Fisher went out, Fisher went out, and there was already no Schwartz, and so it was they got destroyed. I mean, it looked like every play somebody was coming in untouched,
just screaming off the edges, and that's why I don't know. I can't knock Pat Mahomes a ton for it. Injuries or whatever it was with the offensive line, that sucks.
Listen, you're in the Super Bowl. There are no excuses. And speaking of excuses, let me take it here for a minute.
Uh-oh. That tone of voice means something.
Come on, Kansas City. I seen plenty of retweets, and I seen plenty of people tweeting about bad calls.
Oh yeah.
Oh, what about the helmet to helmet on Rashard Higgins from Sorensen
in a 5-point game.
And then it was just play on. So hey, I don't want to hear nothing about the refs.
Well, dude, they
were just play on.
They were tackling receivers. Like,
yeah,
I think it's easy to see
the
that.
The one there at the end of the second half, I think it was on. I don't know if it was Mike Evans, but when Brady threw it out of the back of the end zone, it was uncatchable. That one shouldn't have been a flag.
Yeah, there was a couple bad ones, but there was a lot. Like, many of those flags were justified from the game I was watching.
Yeah, no, I don't think the refs played any part in the game. The refs are good for some bad calls both ways, but that's you just got out, man. I mean, you can't block. I mean, you deserve to lose. You can't block. You can't keep fucking Pat off the ground. Pat didn't have his best game. He didn't play that great. I mean, he made a couple throws where you were like, wow, but that's just some of the shit that he does.
He'll always do that.
You know what I mean? You still have Travis Kelce, and you still have, Tyreek Hill.
Hardman.
You had Sammy back, and they have some free agents who is probably gone. Sammy Watkins being one. Braylon there. I mean, a lot of people just played bad. But that's what you get when you're playing the GOAT. You can't have mistakes with you can't have mistakes like that playing somebody who's been to the Super Bowl 10 times and been there and done that.
Dude, and it was just like, I don't know, man. If you don't think that Tom Brady, excuse me, I'm getting ready to say great. If you don't think that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever play NFL football, now you are just a hater.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were a hater before, but now he literally was like, all right, Bill, it's been real. I'm out. Tampa, Bruce Arians. Now he did have lots of weapons, don't get me wrong. Weapons like he's never had before.
Yeah, well, Jameis had lots of weapons last year.
Exactly.
On the same team.
And instant Super Bowl, instant championship. He goes through Breeze. He goes through Rodgers. And just walks his way right to the NFC Championship, through the NFC Championship into the Super Bowl and gets the win. I mean, he could have took Dallas to the Super Bowl if he felt like it.
Well, yeah, and
like he that's how he is. He's the greatest to ever do it. And if you don't agree anymore, you're only a hater now.
And their offensive line played great. Leonard Fournette ran great. Ronald Jones had some big runs. I felt like they were getting 8 or 9 rushing yards per attempt.
Oh yeah.
It was just bad football from the Chiefs, which, if the Chiefs win that, Andy Reid's up there in that discussion too, and I think I've said that too, as somebody who could possibly catch Bill Belichick, but after Brady wins that, man, and you see the way he does it, it's just, you wonder how great Bill Belichick is, because Tom Brady's great.
Well, we said that all, in the offseason when it found out that Brady was leaving. We said, okay, so we're going to find out, was it Brady or was it Bill? Now, New England had some opt-outs. They had several other, things that may have played against them. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady won in New England with less many, many times.
Yeah.
How many Patriots championships are there if they consistently put teams together with him like he had there? Now, I know he had, the Moss years and all that, but generally speaking, he's winning with guys that aren't really going to amount to much without him there. So
he's won a lot. He's won a lot of Super Bowls with a lot less that he has now.
Absolutely.
And let's just say this: the guy's 43 fucking years old.
No shit.
He's 43. He needs a little bit of help, dude, but he's still performing like that, dude. He was flawless last Sunday,
and no hesitation from him either. Jim Nantz is like, "You coming back next year?" He's like, "Oh, we'll be back." Like, dude, right after the game, didn't even have to think about it. He's going till he's 45, and what is to tell me that he won't make it back next year?
Yeah, and then let's talk about his partner in crime there. 87, he didn't have a big year, but Gronk decides to show up.
He's fucking hilarious.
Show up at the Super Bowl, man. I bet that guy was fucking hammered.
He was hammered today.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, there was a video, I saw it on Instagram or Twitter or something like that, of him talking to Gronk on the field after the game. And Gronk's just this big fucking goofy meathead bastard. He's like, "Oh, 2 tutties. I saved them all for the Super Bowl, Tommy." And they're just like, I just like Gronk.
They just go together, man.
Dude, the Bad Boys for Life videos that they post, like, we ain't.
Yeah.
Go, all that shit, dude, that's awesome.
I wonder if Gronk will be back next year. You got to what I expect from the Bucs, man. I think Godwin's as good as gone. I think that they get Antonio Brown for a good deal, because I bet Antonio Brown is back and becomes that connection with Mike Evans.
Him and Brady are tight.
And I bet Gronk's back. They're going to probably lose a few pieces. Probably going to lose Levante David and Chris Godwin and maybe a few others there. But
Levante David, there is a seat open for you in Cincinnati.
You want that, really?
I mean, for a couple years.
I'm sorry. I was thinking you were talking about Chris Godwin. So, yeah.
I mean, sure, too. What's he up to? I don't give a fuck. I'll take anybody.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know, man. I was shocked at how the game played out, but I was not at all shocked that Tom Brady was going to win. And I also want to point out, while I'm not going to knock Pat Mahomes completely and totally for the loss, his fiance is annoying as fuck, dude.
So is his brother.
His brother's annoying, but it's like he's a TikTok guy, whatever. But dude, she's like tweeting everybody, talking shit. ESPN posted a picture of like Mahomes looking like confused or something, and she's like, "Oh, major network do this to one of the best players in the game." Blah blah blah. I was like, dude, they do that to fucking everybody. They're not picking on Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, she's a bit much, that's for sure.
And she looks like fucking John Elway. Shut up. All right, we don't want to hear it. All right, she's a personal trainer. That's awesome. She's carrying his child. That's awesome. Great. But don't act like ESPN is picking on Pat Mahomes. ESPN does anything but pick on Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I will say this, though. My biggest problem with Pat Mahomes came after the game. He, I don't know if you heard this or not, but he went and he was having his little media, post-game news conference, and he says, there was receivers weren't running the right routes. The receivers weren't where he wanted them to be. The offensive line blocked some, but didn't block all the time. Defense, so he kind of went at his team.
Damn, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it's all over Twitter right now, and it's just, you can't do that. You're the clear leader in the, which is, I mean, nothing that he said was false. It's just, as the quarterback, that's not really your position.
That's what the head coach says.
Yeah, you need to, you need to take the fault. Like, and even if it's not true, I didn't play good enough. I didn't do this.
Yeah, you see guys do that all the time.
Exactly. It's just what the quarterback does. I mean, because if that's not Pat Mahomes, and that's fucking Baker Mayfield saying that, I mean,
he's getting dragged.
Oh, dude, they would drag him through for everything. But I'm just saying, that's the part I disliked, the most. He didn't play great. He looked. I mean, he was running for his life. I mean, that definitely played a part into it. But he didn't play a great game. He missed a lot of throws. And, that's why they're not 2-time champions. They didn't run it back.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of not running it back, I don't feel like they didn't even really try to run the ball. I didn't feel like.
Well, I was listening to ESPN radio, and they had I forget who it was on there, an old defensive player, and said that the Buccaneers were in a 3-4 the entire game with two deep safety, not letting anything over the top, and that the Chiefs didn't even attempt to run the ball. And said when that happens and you got two safeties deep and you're in a 3-4, that means the defense is begging you to run the ball.
Asking you to.
Yeah, so is that the blue? I'm not sure that there's a true blueprint out there because not everybody has that Buccaneers defense, which is extremely fast. Devontae White, holy fuck. Or is it Devin White?
Devin White.
White, I'm sorry. Not Devontae. Devin White.
He might be the best linebacker in football.
And he is fucking fast, and he's everywhere. And it's just, you're not going to get that out of every team. But just like they say is the blueprint there to slow down Lamar, do we know how to slow down Lamar? And that's getting in zone and, and slowing him down. Is this how you beat the Chiefs until they can find a run game? Is it playing a 3-4, two deep safeties, taking away all the deep stuff, and that's how you beat them? I don't know. I mean, I would think that Pat Mahomes would be good enough to figure it out, eventually, but and maybe that was just the game and it threw him off, but we'll see.
That and I remember bringing that up as we watched the game, but at the same time, I started noticing that more when they got behind a couple scores. So is that just prevent, don't let Pat Mahomes beat you deep and creep back in? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is the blueprint. And that I'm not. This doesn't ruin Pat Mahomes' whole career, but you're right. If he wants to be considered the GOAT ever, I think realistically he could catch Brady with Super Bowls.
Yeah. But if you never beat Brady in the Super Bowl when you had the chance to beat Brady in the Super Bowl, it's just
that's the
thing. To me, I mean, and everybody's going to form their own opinion, but my opinion is you can never catch him unless it's the Super Bowl again next year.
And that's the thing because LeBron never got a chance to play Jordan in the finals.
Right.
So we don't have that. But at the back end of Pat Mahomes' career, everybody could say, okay, maybe he got 5-6 Super Bowls.
Even at the age of 43.
But he had a shot at Brady, and he didn't get it.
And he lost. He couldn't even score a touchdown.
Yeah, 9 points, 3 field goals.
I mean,
first time in his career, I think they were held below 10 points.
Take that for what it is. He couldn't even score a fucking touchdown. It's hard to consider you the GOAT when you can't put a touchdown up in the Super Bowl. Again, not his fault. Line was terrible.
So that's where it's at. So yeah.
So Drew, let's give the people what they want, man. Let me give my little tidbit here, and then I'm just going to back off and let you have at it.
I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah. Well, you want to go into to find definition here and let these people know exactly what is going on. So I'm gonna admit it. We're co-hosts, we're best friends. All we do is talk football, and you've been saying this. Joe Thuney is going to the Bengals. You have these sources or whatnot, and we always talk about our group chat, our sports group chat, and I've always pushed it to the side, like this dude's full of shit. Sources. I think I even mocked you last week or the week before. Said something like I retweeted and I said something about sources.
Mm-hmm. You did.
I did. So I get and I tweeted this, and I get a message while I'm at work, and it's you, and it's a picture message, and
I'm not going to reveal.
I know. Well, the person that you are talking to goes on to tell you about Joe Thuney, and let me just say, I'm going to let him explain all this, but I'm like, oh shit, Drew was right this whole time. This person is so close to Joe Thuney that if an emergency was happening, he would call this person.
Absolutely, yeah. They have the same last name.
Yeah, so I'm like, holy shit, Drew was right. He wasn't bullshitting. He really does have the source on this Joe Thuney shit. So before I let you have the floor, all I want to say is to the Bengals. I want to talk to the Bengals. I'm a Browns fan. I want to talk to the Bengals right now. Like, the ball is in your court. Like, Joe Thuney is coming to Cincinnati. He's coming to put on stripes. He's coming to be a Bengal. All you have to do is make the money right.
Well, that's the key.
And I want to tell Bengals fans, Joe Thuney is coming to Cincinnati if the money's right. So if he does not sign with Cincinnati, you know they probably had some kind of embarrassing offer towards Joe Thuney that he was just like, no, I don't. This ain't even worth enough to be home with family. So with that being said, I don't know any of this. I'm all ears right now.
So
Drew Garrison, take the floor.
So I'm going to start off by echoing what you said. I have never guaranteed that Joe Thuney will be a Cincinnati Bengal. I am saying that Joe Thuney wants to be a Cincinnati Bengal, but if they don't make the money right and he's got a better offer somewhere else, he's got to do what's best for him. So I'm going to take you through, and I'm calling it, I got it on hashtag Twitter. If you want to help me get it fucking trending, please do. Thuney Watch. This all started. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and this is a guy that I know personally. I've met and spoke to and been around in person. This isn't some guy on the internet. This is on December 27th. We get to talking about the Bengals, and I said, I'd really like the Bengals to get Joe Thuney. I think he's a top 3 guard in the league. The idea of them drafting Sewell at left tackle, putting Thuney right next to him, I think would be great. He goes on to say, and I've tweeted this, but I'm going to create like a thread for it here when I get done explaining it here. I'll have it on Twitter so people can follow it. Because last week I said that fuck Twitter. I don't even really look at Twitter. I don't need this shit. Well, 1 week later, I am a Twitter guy. I have my followers have gone up by like almost 300. I'm tweeting a lot now. I'm talking to people. I'm in like a Bengals group chat with a bunch of people. So like my whole fuck Twitter from last week is completely changed course.
You have sources now, dude. Like you're kind of a bigwig right now on Twitter. You get shit trending and all that.
So that's transition. But so yeah, I'm talking to this guy. Lives around here. And Joe Thuney's from Centerville. It's 5 minutes from where we're sitting right now recording this. He says, Joe Thuney, my grandpa is good friends with his dad because he's a local guy, Centerville. He said, he told my grandpa that if they'll pay what he wants, he'll come to Cincinnati in a heartbeat. So I said, really? You're saying I'm talking to an inside source saying Thuney would come to Cincinnati if the price is right? He says, anonymous person who talked to Thuney's dad said price is right, he comes home. I said, source name protected always. These are just like regular dudes, and I don't think they want their Twitters blown up and all this shit that I've been dealing with. He said, backstory, my grandpa was at a Halloween party with Joe Thuney's dad, and it was said at that party, but it was super low key. So that is when I first tweeted out that I had a source tell me in Locker Room Talk Uncut that Joe Thuney would come home and play for the Bengals if the price was right. So I did that. Nothing really came of it. I talked a little shit about it. Everybody kind of thought I was bullshitting. That's all good, well and good. And then I get another message this is almost a month later. This is January 29th. This is another guy. I used to work with him. I've met him personally. It's not just an internet person sending me shit. I know this guy. And he said, hey, bro, do you know the Thuneys? I'm just curious because I'm friends with his brother-in-law. I said, no, I don't. I started that because my buddy said his family knows him. He's like, oh, I thought you may know my buddy. And he goes to say, I thought I'd ask you, and just to see if you knew him. He said, well, my buddy is married to his sister. It wouldn't be hard for me to find out if it's legit true. So he's got a buddy that's married to his sister. I don't know how many siblings Joe Thuney has, but one of them is a sister, and he's married to this source's friend. I know this guy. He wouldn't bullshit me. Like I said, I've known him for years. He's like, the money has to be right. He's not going to take a discount to play for Cincinnati. And so we go back and forth about it a little bit. We got to talk about, memorabilia. He's heavy into that stuff, stuff like that. Well, then he sends me another message this last Thursday. So just this last Thursday. He said, my buddy said he's going to talk to him about coming on your podcast if he signs. Now, this is in no way me guaranteeing that we can make that happen, but that would be cool. He said, maybe I'll give you a shot. That would be sweet. But he goes on to say, and I'm reading these off my screen as I do this, so these are direct quotes. He also said the family really wants him to be closer to home, but if he has a better deal money-wise, he has to do what's best for him. Fair enough. That's what I've said all along. I didn't guarantee that Joe Thuney was going to sign to be a Cincinnati Bengal. I just said that if the Cincinnati Bengals make the money right, he'll be here. So I post that one up. That one starts to get a little bit more traction. The followers are coming up. The likes are coming up. People are messaging me, asking me stuff like that. So, it starts to run a little bit. And then I get another message. Let me see what the date was on that. This is on February 5th. This is from another person that I know personally. He's from here in Miamisburg, actually. He sends me a message kind of randomly. He said, my stepdad's best friend is Mark Thuney. That's Joe's uncle who played at Notre Dame with Joe Montana. He said, the Thuneys are great athletes, blah, 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 blah. He's like, talk about winning the lottery. He goes to the Super Bowl his first 3 seasons and he wins 2. Same thing. Money right. Joe Thuney signs, right? It's simple. Centerville, 45 minutes from Cincinnati, we're golden. So that comes in. So I'm like, hey, cool. This is starting to make some sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And today, even another person I went to high school with, I know him personally. He hits me up and he says, "Hey, man, I can't tell you the relationship he has to him because of something, but he says I know Joe Thuney's brother through I'll call it some sort of business." He says, "I know him," and he said when I talked to him, he said Thuney has wanted to get closer to home for a while. So that checks out. But the big one that I talked about yesterday in my Instagram direct messages is Joe Thuney's sister.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to say what her social media is or anything like that because I don't think she really wants to be flooded. She was very, very nice to me. I posted a picture by a guy that I follow named Ha Edits. He makes photoshops and edits, and it was Joe Thuney in a Bengals uniform. I posted it on my Instagram story, and all of a sudden my Instagram story views are going up now too.
Yeah.
Well, I get this message from this woman, and it says, "I love it." And I look at the last name. I'm like, oh, shit. So I go click on her page. There's pictures of her with Joe Thuney. There's pictures of her child with Joe Thuney. This is going, I looked to see how far this was going back because I thought maybe somebody was fucking with me.
Right.
But this is as legit as it gets. He follows her. He likes her post. There's pictures of them together, tagged in Centerville, Ohio, where he's from, all this shit. So I'm like, this is Joe Thuney's fucking sister that I'm talking to, right?
And I've seen the I can verify this.
Yeah, I sent it directly to you, and I'm pulling it up right now. I'm going to read kind of through what was said. So she says, so the direct message replying to the story, the picture of Joe Thuney in the Bengals jersey. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw it. She says, "Love that." I said, "Not trying to be a crazy fan. Long story short, I'm from near Centerville. I do a sports podcast. A few people I know claim to say it could happen. I put it on Twitter and it kind of blew up, so now I have to hope for the best." So I'm thinking she's going to read it and be like, okay, this is a fan of my brother in my DMs, whatever. Well, she replies and she says, "Haha, they just need to pay him well. We want him in Ohio so badly." That's everything I've been saying since December. Mm-hmm. Since the season was still going on. And now I just get a message that says, "Bro," this literally just hit my phone as I'm reading this. It says, "Bro, Megan Thuney liking tweets about Joe coming to the Bengals. Check the Bengals group chat." I just saw that come through. So that literally just happened. But back to the conversation I'm having with her. She says, "Haha, they just need to pay him well. We want him in Ohio so badly." I said, "Hopefully he shares the same sentiment." I said, "Been a fan of him since the Alter days. He played right at Alter. He was a big deal. He went to NC State." I said, "I hope it happens." And she said, "Oh, that's nice of you. We hope it does too." That's my conversation with Joe Thuney's sister, who now is apparently liking tweets on Twitter about it right now. So I'm going to have to take a look into that and see what's going on there. And see if I can understand what's going on with with everything that's going on. But I spoke to Joe Thuney's. I'm following her right now. I'm not going to. She's obviously not trying to be too quiet about things if she's liking tweets about it. But that's how this thing progressed, man. Since the end of December,
as we're talking, Drew, you can tell Drew's occupied with something because his phone's blowing up. Like,
dude, it's nuts.
So Drew does have an inside look here with Joe Thuney. But I think the main thing that people need to take away from this is the fact that if the money's right, Joe Thuney is going to be in Cincinnati for years to come.
And everybody that said I was a fucking idiot and I was making shit up and I was reaching back in December is now starting to see that I wasn't bullshitting. And I want to clarify, none of these, I haven't reached out to any of these people it's gained traction on Twitter, likes, retweets, all that shit. And then people are coming to my messages like, hey, this is what I know. This is the connection I have to him. And it's easy to do because he's from 5 minutes from my house. You know, you and I both know a lot of people, and it just kind of happens that way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, from the sound of things, Joe Thuney, like I said, wants to be in Cincinnati. The money just has to be right. I mean, this is a guy, you know, looking out for his future, looking out for his family's future, and it is what it is at this point, and if the money's right, you know, you guys will have your guy in Cincinnati.
And that's the key here, though. It is the Bengals that we're talking about. They have to make the money right, and this is an organization that historically hasn't really valued the guard position. But I don't know how you can be a professional sports franchise, have Joe Burrow as your quarterback, watch what happened to Joe Burrow, and not heavily invest in protecting him.
Right.
So all of the talk of, you know, it was only a Snapchat screenshot that I started out with. That's true. Me and him were talking on Snapchat. The next one is a guy that I'm talking to through my Twitter DMs. But these are all people that I know personally. And somehow this shit has taken off on Bengals Twitter to the point to where I had a conversation with Joe Thuney's sister yesterday, and she confirmed everything that I've been saying since December 27th, and everybody can kiss my ass because I wasn't bullshitting. I wasn't just trying to get follows or likes or attention to my podcast or anything like that. I was telling you guys the truth, and now we are a month out from free agency, and I've got his sister telling me that he will play for the Bengals if the money is right. So that is the explanation. That is the timeline. I will be on my Twitter tonight. I'm going to kind of create a thread of it because people keep telling me I need to pin a tweet to the top of my profile. I didn't even know what that was.
Oh, yeah. You got to do that.
But it's because, like, if what I'm saying goes around and people go to my page, they want to see it first. So I'm going to try to put together a little thread, timeline type thing of how this has all gone down. I've been tweeting a lot about it. I went from, like, never tweeting to always tweeting.
Well, you know, you have sources now, man. Like,
hashtag I got sources. That's what I said from the start.
So all this being said, what do the Bengals do from here? They just make it right? I mean, this is a must do. Like, if you have somebody that wants to be here, like a Shaquille Barrett.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that right now because the tweet that is being talked about is a guy that I'm in a Bengals group chat with. He replied to the U Stadium article that I posted yesterday. And he said, he is already a Cincinnati Bengal. We just have to make the right offer. That tweet was liked by Joe Thuney's sister. Yeah. So, confirming everything that I've said, and that guy said that because I've been dropping this information on Twitter. I got added to this group chat. It's cool, whatever. But nobody was talking about this shit until I brought it on them. So, it's a real thing. And people have asked what I think the right offer would be for that, and I wanted to clarify when I was tweeting it that this is not anything at all that has been told to me by anybody that knows Thuney. This is not, you know, coming from any kind of source or anything. This is just what I think could possibly get the deal done based on the market for guards, what it was last year, where the franchise tag lays. I think a fair market deal that could get him to come to Cincinnati is 4 years, $56.8 million. That averages $14.20 million a year, $35 million total guaranteed, $20 million fully guaranteed at signing. I think he gets it done.
Yeah. And these are the moves that the Bengals have to make. Like, this is – you have to protect Joe Burrow.
Yeah, by
all means.
And he's on a rookie contract, so if you have to spend big money right now, it's okay.
Yeah.
Go up to 15 to get him.
You have that window. Yeah, you might have to overpay.
If you have to go to 15 to get Joe Thuney, go to 15 to get Joe Thuney. He's a top 3 guard.
You're going to have to overpay. You are the Cincinnati Bengals. That's
the Browns
no shot.
Had to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Browns overpaid for Kevin Zeitler. Not that did anything, but sometimes when you got to protect when you have to protect your quarterback, you do have to overpay. They had I'm sure Conklin got overpaid. Now, was he worth every penny? Yeah,
looks like it.
But those are the type of moves you have to make. When free agency opened, one of the first signings that broke was Conklin. That's how aggressive the Bengals have to be with these linemen.
Absolutely, this should be done before Schefter tweets it out.
Even if it's just Joe Thuney, that's okay because that's a start. And then say you get Penny Sewell at pick 5. You just revamped your whole offensive line, man. You get Thuney, you move Jonah to right, and then you get Penny Sewell. So
and McShay had a new mock come out today that had the first 4 picks being quarterbacks.
Yeah,
which would be crazy. But he
also had Sewell at 5 going to the Bengals.
Exactly. So there's a high chance that Sewell could be gone, but the idea is no matter what, your offensive line is exponentially better with Joe Thuney. And people keep saying, well, we don't need guards, tackles. I tweeted the picture, and everybody's like, why the fuck would you tweet that? Of Joe Burrow getting sandwiched between Montez Sweat, and I can't remember, I don't think it was Chase Young, as Michael Jordan gets blown up and then blocks his guy into Burrow's knee. And I said, what position does number 60 play?
Right.
He's a guard. Drew Brees has had good guards his whole career as you've watched him do that little hop step and step up into the pocket and make a strike. Yeah. It's got to be everywhere. You're not paying Joe Burrow big money. You sign Thuney for 4 years. That deal expires when Burrow would be up for an extension. You figure it out then. But yeah, and I posted this on our podcast Twitter, how would you feel as Bengals fans? How would you feel if this was your line? And it got a good amount of love, but kicking Jonah to right tackle, and Lindsey Patterson, who's a Bengals reporter, legitimate Bengals reporter, said today that she expects to see a lot of Jonah Williams at right tackle.
Where he should be, where I've said for a long time he should be over there.
Yeah, where he came out of in college. And then right guard, I'm cool with Quentin Spain. I think you probably share that.
Yeah,
feeling.
When he was brought in, he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, so I think you can keep him for fairly low money. Starting center week 1 is probably going to be Billy Price. And shout out to Billy Price and Penny Sewell. They actually looked at my Instagram stories last night. Sewell looked at one I had to mention, and Billy Price looked at all of them. So they're tapping in. But Trey Hopkins tore his ACL week 17. He may be ready for week 1, but I doubt it. So Billy Price was a better center than he is a guard.
Yeah, well, that's what he played in college.
Billy Price also had his best season in 2018 with Frank Pollock, who's now back as the offensive line coach and running game coordinator. I'm not a huge Billy Price fan, but I think he could be serviceable at center for a little bit until you get Trey Hopkins back. And then left guard, Joe Thuney, left tackle, Penny Sewell. That doesn't sound that bad to me, man. It's moons away from where it was this past season.
Yeah. I know, just like you said, man, it's the guy's there. The guy wants to come play in Cincinnati. You just got to make it right.
And there is no excuse not to. And you brought up Shaq Barrett, and that stings. You watch Shaq Barrett put on a performance like that in a Super Bowl, it stings. But what I've told people on Bengals Twitter and people that I've talked to is the difference with Shaq Barrett is at least the Bengals can say, we didn't think he was healthy enough. He had medical issues that needed to be looked into. Now, clearly they were wrong. It turned out great. But I also watched, the Miami Dolphins signed Dante Culpepper to a big contract, and their medical guys signed off, and it fucked them.
Right.
So at least you can say, okay, they didn't get Shaq Barrett. It would have worked out, but he had the medical issue. There's none of that with Thuney.
Right.
There is family support for him to come home. There's family desire for him to come home, confirmed to me by the family. There's no medical issue. He wants to come play at home. He wants to be back. There is nothing preventing you from making this signing other than not being willing to spend the money. And if you are not willing to spend the money, you will never reap the rewards that you can get of having a Joe Burrow. So that's the Thuney watch, man. That's it. I feel like this is a good way to verbally explain it. I can only get so much done through a tweet.
Yeah, you only have so many letters.
So people know that I'm not bullshitting, but I think once I sent you that screenshot of the conversation, you were like, oh, shit.
So let me ask you this before we get off here. If the Bengals choose not to sign him, how are you going to feel? I'm
going to be very upset. Not only because I'm going to deal with so much shit on Twitter, because and people need to know that I'm not guaranteeing a signing. I'm just going to be upset because I think that he's the best guard on the market. You can look at Brandon Scherf, but I think he re-signs in Washington. I don't think he leaves.
Right.
And Scherf has some injury concerns. I think Thuney stays on the field a little bit more. The feel good Ohio thing just. There's too many.
Feels like the right thing to do.
It feels right, and he probably is excited about the idea to come play with Joe Burrow. Maybe take offense if you want. I don't give a fuck. It's not like he's coming to play with Andy Dalton. You know what I mean? Like Burrow is showing all this promise and getting all this love. So how can the organization not go all in and invest everything they can to protect him at all costs by any means? How can they not? So I'm going to be extremely upset. He should, if he takes the Bengals call when free agency opens, he should never talk to another team.
Right.
What do you want? If it's not something, obviously he could say, I want something insane that no team should pay. He won't. He doesn't seem like that type of dude. He's just a normal dude from Ohio playing football, winning Super Bowls in New England. Maybe he's ready to come home, be closer to his family. So if his agent comes to you with a realistic offer, say it's done. Say the deal's done. Pending a physical, whatever you got to do, say the deal's done. Don't talk to anybody else. Right. And I need to see a Schefter tweet that says Joe Thuney plans to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals for 4 years, $56 million, whatever it is. That should be the only outcome, whether you think you can get Sewell or not.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, and if you can get one of these big time free agent linemen, that's how you go about fixing your team. And with the big men up front, I mean those are the guys that need paid. You got to be good in the trenches, and you got to protect your quarterback. So
because
there we have it.
Even Pat Mahomes,
as we've seen in the Super Bowl. But there you have it, man. There's what Drew knows. And, I've seen everything to confirm and verify everything that he said. So, Insider Drew Garrison.
Insider, and I've, like I said, man, last week I was saying, fuck Twitter, I don't use Twitter. Now I'm all over Twitter. So if you don't like what I say, there's a pretty quick way to unfollow me. But I'm on everybody's ass until this happens. And when he signs, if the Bengals don't fuck us up and when he signs, I don't want any credit going to anybody else because somebody said, oh, well, this guy posted it in January. And so I posted it in fucking December. I've been dying to get that out. I'm glad, okay? I hope a lot of people tune in and see what I've been talking about.
There you have it.
So I guess that's really two topics the whole episode, but so we'll stay in touch with that. Any new news I will be breaking on Twitter at Drew_LRT, on Instagram at Drew_LRT. You are Penrod_LRT on Twitter, correct? LRT.
Penrod LRT. Yep, you can follow me there.
And he's on there giving his takes. I'm on mine, but yeah, I'm trying to keep up with all these follows. Twitter was telling me that I was following people back too fast, and it shut me down from following people for a while.
Thought you were a bot,
dude. I know this is fucking crazy. So there it is. Joe Thuney to Cincinnati. If the Bengals make the money right, Mike Brown, don't fuck this up. We will be back in here covering all the latest in sports here on the next episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Locker Room Talk Uncut.